All right, you guys, happy Wednesday. Let's get straight into it. I mean, I'm always kind of straight into it. I got to tell you, yesterday's episode, they're really mad at me. The Ziobots are really mad at me. How could I be so humane? How could I be so humane and say that I don't want war, which is the reason that Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson are warring at this moment. We have clips from that debate. But first, I have a confession to make. I am so bored with ass cheeks on the internet. Genuinely, it's beginning to put me to sleep. Like, first, it was this cultural phenomenon, the hopocalypse. It was very shocking. Women, their boobs out, demanding justice for their nipples. Then it became kind of interesting why people were committing their lives to this. And now I'm very bored. And I want to talk about Sabrina Carpenter at the top of the show and her new album cover and why it's actually significant to a larger war that's happening against women. Plus, we will get into, I have to cover Meghan Markle, that really very bizarre twerking video. Let's talk about all of it, jumping right now. All right, you guys. So I was telling you I had so many stories while I was on maternity leave that I wanted to cover. And I was keeping this running list on my phone. And some of the stories are cultural. Some of the stories are political. So I just very quickly want to start with this Sabrina Carpenter viral album. And I promise you, I have something very important to say about this. This is not just a poppy topic. It's significant. So in case you're like me and you have no idea who Sabrina Carpenter is, this is an artist. Her name is Sabrina Carpenter, and she's very popular with the young crowd. She is, according to my producers, who had to do this whole dive for me this morning, 26 years old, a former Disney Channel actress, which the writing's on the wall there, right? If you come from Disney for whatever reason, you got to have your butt cheeks out once you're out of Disney. But I want to say, I'm not trying to disrespect her whatsoever. I legitimately do not know who this woman is. I don't know a single one of her songs. I had to have my producers pull them this morning. And that's not because she's not marketable. Clearly she is. I'm just getting to the age where it's me. You know, the music just doesn't sound good to me anymore. Okay. It just doesn't sound good. The voices don't sound good. The sound is not nice. I sound like a grandma. Maybe I am. All of it is weird and poppy. And I grew up listening to Lauryn Hill, right? Real vocals, grew up listening to Whitney Houston. And you just have to admit that there is a qualitative difference between the music of yesterday and the music of today. Just to very quickly give you a sample of that, here is Whitney Houston stripped down to just her vocals. Take a listen. Just incredible. Just reminding you that that's what music used to sound like. And now we fast forward and we have Sabrina Carpenter, and we also wanted to pull just her vocals. And she does have backup, even though she says this is a cappella. But this is Sabrina Carpenter's sound today.
Whatever devil's inside you, don't let them out tonight. I tell them it's just your culture, and everyone rolls their eyes. Yeah, I know.
So it's just not for me. Like, I feel like I could do that. It's like talking a lot. I can't mimic Whitney Houston. Anyway, Sabrina Carpenter, no insult again to her. If there's a buyer and you are a seller, whatever, it's the free markets. She has had a lot of brushes with the media because she has this extremely sexual brand, right? And like I said, it's a rite of passage for Disney people. Miley Cyrus, Christina Aguilera, they get all grown up and suddenly want to take their clothes off. And Sabrina is one of these individuals, despite being 26 years old. It's not like she's in her early 20s coming out of Disney, but she's 26. And she feels that she needs to crank up the controversy. Like, it's not enough to just be sexually explicit. Here she is on the cover of Rolling Stone. Her music is very sexually explicit, as I'm told by my producers. But now she is releasing her latest album cover. And I want to show you guys this. The album is entitled Man's Best Friend. Take a look at this album. Now, in case you're listening to this just on audio, take a look at this. She's bent down on all fours. It seems she's got her left hand touching a guy's knee. She's basically a dog. So she's a dog standing before a man in a skimpy dress and high heels. dress hiked up so that it's just under her booty cheeks, or skirt hiked up. And he's pulling her hair, right? So this is meant to be sexually explicit. And she drops this on her Instagram. My new album, Man's Best Friend, Get It? I Look Like a Dog and He's Pulling My Hair, is out on August 29th, 2025. And there was a bit of an uproar about this, a lot of an uproar about this on the internet when I was on maternity leave. And first and foremost, people going, oh my gosh, this is so controversial. Couple of things that I want to say right off the bat. This is not controversial. This is not even remotely controversial. We have reached peak saturation on the matter of boobs and ass on the internet. I am so bored with this. And I actually think that if she wanted to be controversial, she'd have kept her clothes on, gotten married, and have some kids on the cover of her album. Like if she just had a nice family shot, then people would go, oh my gosh, what is she doing? By the way, is exactly what happened to Hannah Nealman, Ballerina Farm. She just was being normal and had a family life on the internet, on Instagram, and was baking bread. And people came after her. They were like, how dare she do this? And that made sense to me because the culture has gone so extreme in the pornographic area that when someone keeps their clothes on, it can be quite shocking. I am factually so desensitized to pornography or soft porn on the internet that if Sabrina Carpenter crawled into this room right now on all fours, half naked, I don't even think I would gasp. I would probably ask her how she got into the house and ask if one of the kids left the door unlocked, but I wouldn't be shocked, okay? Second thing that I want to say here, which is way more important, is something that me and Ian Carroll touched on at the end of Monday's episode. And it's trying to get to the why of this because I had probably too much time to think when I was on maternity leave, but I started thinking about the pop music that I got into when I was in middle school. And I was kind of horrified when I went back and I watched and listened to some of those old videos. Christina Aguilera, wonderfully talented, that does not need, based on her vocals, to be taking her clothes off for attention. But she dropped her first album. I was obsessed with it. And she was 17 years old and the song was Genie in a Bottle. And when I go listen to those lyrics now and I think about the fact that I was in middle school and she's speaking frankly about a guy that she wants to sleep with and saying, you got to rub me the right way. I'm a genie in a bottle, baby. You got to rub me the right way. And she was doing this. She was recording this. She was 16 years old. Yeah, it gets quite dark. You start to go, what is the why of this? Why do we routinely have these young women that come out and they're given these songs, and some of them varying degrees of talent are all just naked all the time? And what me and Ian Carroll touched upon, and this has been on my heart heavily, especially over the last couple of years. You know, I am just turned 36 actually in April of this year. And I'm in the baby making ages where everyone is trying to get pregnant. People are having children, but the struggle to get pregnant is something that is stunning, right? And I wanted to make sure that I used my platform when I got back to say this to you, because there are so many wonderful people that I'm friends with, people that are in my family that are struggling to have just one child. And it's not because of their age. It's not because of their health. I'm talking about people that are in their 20s. It's because of something else. And I know that I lean towards conspiracy. I guess people say I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think I just follow the facts. And factually speaking, based on the research that I have done and what I'm learning about our history, this is not by accident that so many women are struggling to be able to have one child. There is very much a long-running war on your fertility. And I just want to make sure that young women have the opportunity to wake up to that, because I know that a lot of women, as they get into their 30s and we start to have these conversations, regret how they viewed their fertility when they were younger. Like there was something wrong with you. Like a lot of women growing up, and I put myself in this crowd, by the way, so I'm not being sanctimonious here. You guys know where I was. I was left-leaning. I would have said I was a feminist. I would have said, women need to take birth control because it frees them. And that is because we are having our minds poisoned. There's a war on fertility. There's a war on family, and that's very real. That messaging is not by accident, right? You could use the example of the COVID vaccine, which we instantly knew it was impacting women's menstruation, which means it's impacting her fertility. But Big Pharma didn't admit to that for 8 months. They allowed women to be gaslit. They allowed women to roll up their sleeves and get this vaccine. They knew women were having miscarriages because of this, and they wouldn't admit that until way later. Until for some women, it was just too late. And because I've done a series, for those of you that are signed up to CandaceOwens.com, we are getting into birth control. And I did an entire deep dive on all of just the history of birth control. I want you to know that it's not by accident. They knew when they were testing these products on women that were in asylums that the goal was to make them infertile. The things that are on these pamphlets, when you look into them, these inserts for birth control, explicitly say this can give you cancer, this may cause infertility, this may do this may do that. And that's not how it's being marketed to young women. Your brain is not developed. When you're young, you think you're going to live forever. You think everybody else is so old. You're looking at Candace doesn't know who Sabrina Carpenter is. She's so not hip. Fair. All of that is hip. You are not considering the adult that you are going to be down the line. And the reality is that culture has been warping our minds to believe that promiscuity is the norm, right? That you can have abortion, you could have tons of abortions, you get to decide, like you are cursed with fertility. Like fertility is a curse, which by the way is the opposite of what every society throughout human history thought about fertility before now. They had, even in pagan societies, they had fertility goddesses. It was always considered a gift. And then we fast forward to now, we fast forward to modern times, and suddenly women are believing that it's a curse that you can have a baby and you're trying to stop it and you're putting all of these pills in your mouth. You don't know what happens when you take them. But I don't know, maybe the doctor told you to take birth control because you had to get rid of a pimple. Because that's when I woke up and was like, this is kind of weird. Every time I go to the doctor, they're trying to get me on birth control. And so it makes you feel like I shouldn't take it. They'll be like, I have a headache, birth control. I have a pimple, birth control. My menstruation cycle is not normal, birth control. And I want you to all begin to see the conspiracy in that, especially because I know there are so many young women that watch this podcast, that there is very much a war on your fertility and marketing this sort of promiscuity to you as some form of freedom. I mean, Sabrina Carpenter, you're supposed to look at this and say, wow, she is so brave and stunning and strong and sure of herself and so in control that she's on her knees acting like a dog, being sexually suggestive to men, calling herself a man's best friend. Like, this is feminism. This is modern feminism, and we should celebrate this. We don't need to attack the person. I just want you to know that's a lie. And she is not even aware of the fact that that's a lie, because she has people around her in Hollywood that are telling her that this is what they want. People want sexy red. They want you always with your clothes off. We don't get to have people that were just talented anymore. Women, you're not enough unless you're taking your clothes off, and you're supposed to feel like that's empowering. It's not. And so I want you guys to, I just had it on my heart to say that, first and foremost, to women, to know that when you start to realize these things and when you start to reflect and say, maybe what Candace was saying was not so crazy, maybe the fact that we're constantly being told that we're at war with the natural order of things, like what your body does naturally is problematic, right? That's what we're basically told in school. And here are pills that can fix it. You will one day reflect on it and realize that they have been convincing you to slowly poison yourself for a very long time. And so Sabrina Carpenter, in selling promiscuity, knows, or doesn't know rather, but the people around her know that promiscuity, well, you can have many partners and do stuff for men. Now there's birth control, and that's going to be fine. If you get pregnant, you can have an abortion. And also, by the way, if she comes out of that and she wants to get married, well, if you have a lot of partners, actually, you do reduce your value on either side of the aisle. And that's not just conservative talk. That's common sense. Men want to feel that they have won something. And if they know that you're available to a lot of other men, they don't necessarily feel that. And you may not agree with me, my politics, I get it, I'm a conservative, but I had to say that because to watch people go through the struggle of having children and hearing so many people express regrets over, what's in our food, what medicine we're taking, what they believed when they were younger, I feel that if I have a platform, I need to speak against it. And so that's just pretty much all I wanted to say about that before we get into not the war on our fertility, but the war between Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. First, I want to remind you guys about Goldco, because you may have heard that Ron DeSantis signed a bill that would recognize gold and silver as legal tender in the state of Florida, exempting them from sales tax. Yeah, that is a law that is set to take effect on July 1st, 2026, pending ratification by the state legislature. Now, why did they do this? Well, Governor DeSantis explained it by saying, quote, "This is our ability to give you the financial freedom to be able to protect yourself against the declining value of the dollar," end quote. I guess all that inflation and skyrocketing national debt, not to mention the recent credit downgrade for the U.S., may have opened his eyes. This is exactly why I've partnered with the precious metals company myself. The writing has been on the wall for a long time now. So if you want to learn more about how gold and silver can help you protect your money, reach out to my partners at Goldco. They are a great company that I trust, and they've helped me out tremendously. Just visit CandaceLikesGold.com to get a free 2025 gold and silver kit, and you'll also learn about their unlimited bonus silver offer. Again, go to CandaceLikesGold.com, CandaceLikesGold.com. Okay, the great debate that is taking place on the internet right now. First and foremost, before we even saw the full debate, which Tucker Carlson really just dropped, it was just a clip that was making the rounds, which made you recognize they were about to go at it about Iran and war. And we have this divide that is happening within the MAGA movement, if you will. Now, I want to say this at the top. I like Ted Cruz. I have met him. So me attacking his ideas is not me attacking the man. He's very kind. And Tucker Carlson and him have obviously landed on opposite sides of this thing. Both of them have been kind to me in the past. So Tucker essentially is pressing Ted Cruz in this initial clip about what he even knows about Iran, given the fact that he believes that American troops should, could, and maybe already are going to war or getting involved in Middle Eastern conflict, again, at the behest of Israel. I'll let you listen to that clip yourself.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not
okay.
even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
Israel.
Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay, so a lot happening there. I want to first respond to the earlier portion where he's just asking him some basic facts about Iran. Now, typically, if you're going to talk about a debate that you're involved in, some things could not matter. Like if I said, I don't think that Israel has a right to just keep murdering Palestinians, and someone said, well, how many Palestinians were alive in 1994? It would be irrelevant. Murder is wrong. Murder is always wrong. So it's a perfectly acceptable position to have. But this is not that, right? And the reason why this matters is because Ted Cruz has power. Ted Cruz can vote, and he is making it very clear via his tweets that he believes that America should get involved if this escalates to a world war. He believes that America needs to get involved in this conflict. So that's very serious. He has the power to represent himself in a vote that could determine that your sons, my sons, your brothers, our brothers, sons, cousins, whatever it is, could get drafted into this conflict, right? So when you hold that much power, it is incumbent upon you, if you are going to represent the American people, that we need to get involved in this conflict. It is incumbent upon you to also run through the estimation of whether or not we can win this conflict. It's one thing to say, do we have a right to be involved? And he believes, yes, we should get involved in Israel's drama. And the reason that he believes that, by the way, is Tucker Carlson has been lobbied by AIPAC. I mean, sorry, not Tucker Carlson. Ted Cruz accepts money from the AIPAC lobby like many of our politicians do. And he accepts a lot of money. He has accepted almost $2 million from AIPAC, despite the fact that his salary as a senator is about $170,000 annually. He also, on top of that, accepts money from lobbyists. That's the reason why they don't want to leave DC, because they're making a lot of money via various lobbies. And so he has accepted almost $2 million from the American Israel PAC. And I believe that that's potentially what's guiding his decision. And I'm assuming that Tucker Carlson does as well, because it's clearly he's not being motivated by an idea that he thinks we can win. He doesn't say that. He would have to reasonably go, Okay, and not only that, but the population is 90 million. Here's what we've got. He hasn't done any of those assessments. He just knows that we have to defend Israel. And yeah, you should absolutely have a ballpark estimation of the population size, right? If I say let's go to war with China, I know China's got like 1.7 billion people. And I'm going to run and go, maybe we shouldn't go to war with China because that's a lot of people. He doesn't know the answer to that. So that's problematic. And so when they're getting into this discussion, you have to wonder what is motivating it, aside from if he's going to represent that it's something more than just his AIPAC dollars, which he's pretending that he just believes that we should be involved. And this is when he gets to explaining that he believes there is a theological basis for us to be married to Israel's foreign policy. Take a listen.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two...
Hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And
what does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what? Hold on. Define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
And so is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation the God's referring to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is.
And I'm really happy he said that, because when you hear it, you realize how ridiculous it sounds. Even if you're not following the theology, if you don't identify as a Christian, you realize that you have a senator that is sitting across saying that his number one reason, he didn't say one of the reasons, he said my number one reason that I support Israel is because the Bible commands me to do so. And just so you know, the Bible does not command, and this is what Tucker Carlson is getting to in that clip, it absolutely does not command you to support the modern state of Israel. Like Genesis is pointing to the modern 1948 created state of Israel, and you must support it, despite the fact that it is very much involved in what can only be described as demonic behavior since its creation, right? And so you're going to ignore every other biblical passage. You're going to misinterpret this one. It's a dispensationalist heresy. Dispensationalist heresy, which was factually funded by the World Zionist Congress. And we can do another episode on that as I present to you guys all of the evidence that what it guided the notations. This really stems from the Schofield Bible, the heresy of the Schofield Bible. Schofield himself was an absolute fraud who got funded and was overseas and alleges that he wrote all of these notes in the Bible and is telling people how to read their Bibles. The first time that notations were put underneath the passages. So this is what Genesis says, and this is what it means. And this is how this heresy arrived in America. Then somehow this guy is able to, it becomes the most printed book, and Oxford Press gets behind it because like a random pastor, you get the idea here. It was very much a funded effort to have Christians misunderstand the Bible. And Ted Cruz is one of these Christians. And so he says this is number one reason that he supports what they're doing. So he is willing to support the criminality of Benjamin Netanyahu because he's just in the land of Israel. That's he's saying it's the nation state of Israel. By that argument, if suddenly the current Israelis in Israel all left and we put in a bunch of Iranians, then he would say the same thing because it's a place, right? So Ted Cruz would say, my Bible commands me, I will be blessed. I bless those who bless Israel. He's talking about a place, a physical place, and anybody could be in there and he would back it. It's an absolute nonsense for him to suggest this. And like I said, it's also a theological disaster, and it's so important for people to learn the history, the true history of the Schofield Bible and this sort of modern dispensationalist belief, which has been so toxic to our foreign policy and has been pushed in large part. It's even the hyphening of Judeo-Christian values. I'm a Christian. I'm not Jewish. I am a Christian. My values are Christian, and frankly, you should believe that a country which has involved itself, as Israel has, in blackmail, in murder, in bombing children, in murdering and starving women and children to get what it wants, the deception. And I mean, you could talk about it on a widespread level. You could talk about it on a historical level. You could talk about it on a molecular or a personal level. It is like a requirement to support Zionism. You just have to lie. You have to lie like all the time. I mean, they are just every day pushing this idea that I'm funded by Qatar. Not a shred of proof. It's completely false. It is untrue. And they say it every day because they have no other arguments. All they have to do is keep hoping that people like Senator Ted Cruz, especially if they're being funded by AIPAC, will completely misinterpret the Genesis and believe that no matter what, they have to support the policies of Bibi Netanyahu, which not even the Israelis support, right? They don't even support him. They were protesting against him in wartime. So that's very, it should terrify you, frankly. It should terrify you. It's also ironic that we are told that Iran, they can have nukes because they're a bunch of rabid fundamentalists, right? Religious fanatics. And at the same time, you are saying that Israel doesn't have to abide by international law. They don't have to even speak or acknowledge the fact that they have nukes. It's okay that they stole that from America. They stole weapons from America. It's okay that Jeffrey Epstein is running a blackmail ring on our politicians, was running a sexual blackmail ring via the Mossad. It's okay. And they don't have to answer questions about JFK and Jack Ruby, otherwise known as Jacob Rubenstein, and his involvement. We just have to accept that whatever they do, no matter how toxic and horrible and demonic it is, it's perfectly acceptable because God is going to bless you if you bless this land. Yeah, God wanted you to leave us with a 1948 real estate problem. It's completely ridiculous for them to be making this argument. And so when you see them go at it, and there's more clips that are coming out, and do you have, there's also one more clip. You know that eventually Ted Cruz, and I did not even see this until a couple of minutes ago, eventually Ted Cruz is just going to go where the Zionists go, which is, okay, I don't have an argument anymore, but now I have to imply that you're anti-Semitic if you don't support Bibi Netanyahu, right? This intentional conflation of Israel, the foreign nation, with the Jews. And lo and behold, he does it. Take a listen.
It's a very weird thing. The obsession with Israel, when we're talking about foreign countries,
it's hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese, you're not talking about Japanese, you're not talking about the Brits, you're not talking about the French. The question, what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Oh, I'm an anti-Semite now.
Senator, you're asking the questions, Tucker. You're asking, why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy?
Senator,
that's what you just asked.
Hardly saying that, and I have
That is exactly what you just said.
Well, actually, I can speak for myself and tell you what I am saying.
Good.
On behalf not simply of myself, but on my many Jewish friends who would have the same questions, which is to what extent, and it's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy, feline way implying it, or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews. There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with the foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews?
You said, I'm asking you...
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's be clear.
It's sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just said, why is that the only question you're asking? You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason why the obsession is Israel.
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran. And so these are valid questions.
But you're not asking about Iran or the Ayatollah.
If I can finish, you asked me why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yep.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which is to defend Israel.
Yes.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period. Okay. Any government, including the ones that my ancestors come from. So that's my position. That does not make me an anti-Semite. And shame on you for suggesting otherwise. And I mean that. And that's low, and you know it's low. So why don't you just answer my questions
I'll
in a
answer any
straightforward,
question you
rational
like.
way? You certainly have the IQ to do it. So
Shame on you is cute, by the way, Tucker.
it is. It's not cute. I'm offended. I'm obsessed with the Jews. You just told me
You
that
just called
you
me a
ran.
sleazy feline.
It is sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite for asking questions about how my government
You
is
want
run.
to count how many questions you asked about? What about the Jews? What about Israel? What about
I
AIPAC?
never asked about the Jews. I have. This has nothing to do with the Jews, whatever that means. This has to do with a foreign government. And once again, shame on you for conflating the two.
Yeah, they're doing all the tricks, and there actually is this an Israeli former Israeli minister. I think her name is Shalamut, and she's on camera saying that this is a trick that we use. Like, if all else fails, if anybody questions Israel, we just call them anti-Semitic. And so this is like right from the handbook, with the Zionist handbook, which is like, if something we do is so indefensible, say that people noticing is obsession, and that it's because they hate Jews. It's the oldest hatred in the book. You just hate Jews. It's like, no, you are taking billions of dollars from us every year, and you're demanding that we get involved in your Middle Eastern conflict. Of course, we have a right to talk about Israel. And like I said, you will see this over and over again. And when people decide, I'm actually not offended by that, because I know it's not true. And I know that it's basically a really poor debate tactic. It's just an ad hominem attack. And they seek to become more educated about the state of Israel. The more that you discover, the more indefensible it becomes. Case in point, I'll give you something that happened in the past. You guys remember when Kyrie Irving, they went out and tried to cancel this man, cancel his entire basketball career, because he shared a link. Absent any commentary, he went into Twitter and he tweeted out an Amazon link to a documentary. Now, if the reaction that he got, if nobody reacted, I don't even think anyone would have seen the tweet. Honestly, it was so absurd. And it was a tweet to a documentary that was entitled "From Hebrews to Negroes." And they just said, oh my gosh, he has to go through steps to be allowed back in the NBA. Skylar, actually, could you pull up what the steps were that they wanted Kyrie Irving? I should have had you pull this up before the show, but like, they wanted Kyrie Irving to go through 6 steps. And of course, the ADL was involved. They wanted to make him like donate money to the ADL, go spend time in Brooklyn with Jewish people, because he shared a documentary link, which, if you want to think, okay, if you're making the argument that we are the original Jews of this land and you're not producing any evidence to that effect, any person has a right to say, I agree with that, I don't agree with that, and you should just be able to debate it. And they were going to cancel Kyrie Irving's entire life. Let me know when you have that, Skylar. Okay, here we go. Sources: the Nets have delivered Kyrie Irving 6 items he must complete to return to the team. He must apologize and condemn the movie. He must make a $500,000 donation to anti-hate causes. He must go through sensitivity training, anti-Semitic training, meet with the ADL and Jewish leaders, and then meet with Joe Tsai to demonstrate understanding. All he did was share a link to a documentary. I kid you not. And so here's what's really crazy, because I had to basically, when I was similarly being canceled for saying Christ is king and for me not agreeing with what's going on in Gaza, I got really educated about topics, and I was shook by the fact that they are canceling Kyrie Irving, Israel is, for information that actually came from Israel itself, or what was Israel, what was before Israel. It was really just Palestine before Israel became a nation. Look up Abraham Pollock. This is incredible. By the way, the thesis of that documentary is that these are not even the original Jews, that actually these are Khazars from a Turkic community. So there's this like Khazarian conspiracy theory, and they call this an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. I want to be clear, to suggest that the people that are occupying Israel today are Khazarian Jews, are the Khazarians are from like the kingdom of Khazaria, is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. But now watch this. Skylar, pull up Abraham Pollock. And this is what I mean. It's the tricks that they play. Where did this anti-Semitic conspiracy theory come from? It came from them. It came from somebody who said, I want to figure out who the Ashkenazis are. And he was more than qualified to do it as an anthropologist. And he was living, Abraham Pollock, here we go. Abraham Nahum Pollock was an Israeli historian, a professor at Tel Aviv University, since its inception, professor of medieval history and founder of the Department of Middle Eastern History. His main areas of research were Jewish history, Arab history, nations of Islam and Africa, and the history of the Khazars. Now scroll down, and again, I am doing this all live, so it might take a second here. But essentially, he publishes a book and says, aha, I've done it. My research is over. Actually, we are the Khazarians, and we are from a Turkic tribe. And they had these Turkic tribes, the Ishkenaz, the Ashkenaz, and that's who we actually are. I want to be clear. This book was published, the book called Khazaria, History of a Jewish Kingdom in Europe. And he states that the Khazars were the demographic foundation of the Jews who inhabited Eastern Europe. And this was such groundbreaking stuff that he did. Look at this. This is 1941. He says they then mass converted to Judaism. He was awarded. Tel Aviv University awarded him, thank you for doing this research. Again, this is before the modern state of Israel. And then, guess what? He also, you can see there, he served in the IDF. So we're not going to call him anti-Semitic, are we? He served in the IDF through the formation of the state of Israel. So this guy gets awards from Tel Aviv University, and now he's serving in the IDF when they just kick out a bunch of Palestinians. And after they do this, they say, stop publishing his book because it doesn't help what we are trying to do. That's on the Wikipedia page. I want this to be shown that this is on the Wikipedia page. The rabbi said we should stop publishing this book because it doesn't help our argument that we're now making that we are the original Jews. This is on this Wikipedia page. Okay. So Kyrie Irving, in theory, could have just read this book, which was published by someone who received awards for the research that he did, tracing the Ashkenazis back to this kingdom of the Khazars. And then they never removed his awards. They never called him an anti-Semite. They never said, well, we've debunked his scientific activity. In fact, the rabbis said, this is not helpful for us to say this, that we are Khazars, now that we have established the modern state of Israel. That's on this Wikipedia somewhere. You can scroll down. We should probably find it, saying that it was not helpful, I think was the exact terms. So when I saw this, I was just like, the actual audacity to attack Kyrie Irving, to give him 6 steps, to say that he's an anti-Semite for something that you know that your own historians published as fact and received awards for before the creation of the state of Israel, before you pulled this book, is asinine. It is absolutely asinine. And the more you will find little things like that, where the things that we are being called anti-Semites for, essentially, it's if you know anything about the history of the modern state of Israel, like if you learn about Bella Hadid's family and how they got the land and stuff, that is when they attack you the hardest. When there is a truth there is when they attack you the hardest. And there are tons of books. I've read more books like that came from former IDF soldiers and people that lived in Israel. And there are tons of historians who have written books to that effect. But I just wanted you to know, like, that is a level of gaslighting that they take part in now. Like, oh, the science, I guess it's like COVID, the science changed, the anthropologist was wrong. He never got his award revoked, but like, okay, whatever. Here it is in the Wikipedia page. Thank you guys for finding this. It reads, nonetheless, the same assumptions which Pollack presented in his book were the target of criticism in various circles because of their possible ramifications on the right of Jews to settle in Israel. As early as 1944, the Jewish historian Aaron Zeev asserted, quote, I do not know what enjoyment and dignity he finds in our Turkish Mongolian descent rather than our Jewish ancestry. And so they just shut it down. They were like, this is not okay. And they stopped publishing this book. So I just wanted to do a very late defense of Kyrie Irving because, like I said, the more you look into things, it's the lies, it's the deception, it's the audacity to try to ruin the lives of others when they discover something that is patently true, or at least you accept it as being a patent truth. If you've changed your history and decided that this is no longer relevant and that Abraham Pollack is a raging anti-Semite, fine. But you better hang him before you hang Kyrie Irving is all I'm saying, because I'm getting a little bit tired about that. By the way, further to that point, I wanted to show you this AP headline today, speaking further to Ted Cruz's assertion that it's a Christian understanding that we must support this state. 34 people were killed today in the deadliest day of shootings near Gaza's new food distribution center. So kids are running for food and they are being shot. That footage is available. You can look at it on X. I retweeted it. Obviously, we can't show it on YouTube or we will get hit with some sort of you're not allowed to show violence on YouTube. But again, how you watch this every single day, how you watch these children crying, how you watch these adults bleeding out, and you with a straight face say that God is going to bless me if I look the other way, makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Okay. So That's all I'm going to say about that topic. Very quickly, also want to switch to a more fun topic or a lighter topic before I get to some of your comments. I also wanted to say that Meghan Markle releasing her baby mama dance was something that I saw, and it was interesting. So in case you missed it, Meghan Markle, who has struggled to be liked, I would say, I think that's a fair assessment. And I really, this year or the last few years, I was like, I really want to just look at her with a fresh pair of eyes, because maybe with everything happening, maybe she really did just want to go to America, live in LA, loves this man to death, and just didn't want to be a part of the royal family. Okay, love is like that sometimes. It is really hard with her and her, I would say, lack of brand clarity. So she decides to release this clip of her and her husband dancing, twerking in the hospital before the birth of her daughter. She released this recently. I want to be very clear. She released this a couple of weeks ago, and nobody's really sure why she released it as like a TBT to when hot sauce wasn't working, when spicy food wasn't working. And so with nothing left to do, here she writes, 4 years ago, this also happened, that both of our children were a week past their due dates. So when spicy food, all that walking and acupuncture didn't work, there was only one thing left to do: laugh. And here's the clip, and it's her, and it's Prince Harry, and he's got some good moves, and she's dancing, and she's holding her belly, and they're in the hospital, and she's twerking and dancing, and this is supposed to be really relatable. Except it bothers me, and I will tell you why it bothers me, and you can tell me if you think that I'm being unfair. It bothers me first because it's a lie, right? She's not in the hospital trying to induce labor by twerking. The hospital will not give you a bed because you're trying to induce labor. You are not allowed to. Take it from me, I've had 4 children. They will, unless you are literally in the middle of labor, even if you are in the middle of labor, if you're not dilated enough, they're not going to give you a hospital bed, okay? So you didn't go to the hospital and say, hey, I'm a week overdue. Do you mind giving me a room and admitting me so I can try to twerk with Harry and see if I get the baby going? No, you already agreed to the induction because you were a week past due. You were in the hospital and they were about to give you Pitocin to induce the baby. And then you had this idea with your husband that you should twerk and put up a camera. That's the part that really bothers me. Put up a camera, fixate it, and then both of you start twerking. Because in her mind, she was thinking, I'm going to release this later in a Netflix doc, or release it later to show people how relatable I am. Otherwise, you can have a cute moment with your husband without recording it. Like, why would you record this for any reason? Why would you record this in the hospital? And in case you think that I'm being unfair, a week after she drops this, she goes on a podcast, Emma Greed's podcast, Aspire, and Emma Greed questions her. She gets a lot of hate. People don't think you're authentic. Like, what do you have to say to people who don't think you're authentic? And here's what Meghan Markle says.
You have to be authentic.
Just be authentic. Did you see my baby mama dance?
I mean, stop it. First of all, can I just tell you the timing of that, we maybe watched it like 20 times yesterday. And I was like,
okay, come out of there. So she's saying, you need proof that I'm authentic? I just dropped myself twerking. Obviously, I'm authentic. So she's bringing that up to say there is now PR. I have proven that I am authentic because I twerked with my husband in a room. That's not a normal way to answer the question. If somebody asked me about my authenticity, I would say I don't need to justify that I authentically am who I am. Like, me and my husband don't feel the need to respond to the internet, but she's like, we dropped the clip and that proves we're authentic. Did you see my baby mama twerk? It's giving Hillary Clinton hot sauce comment on The Breakfast Club, notoriously when she was running for office and she went on Power 105. And at that time, Beyonce's song was like #1 in the world. It got hot sauce in my bag, swag. I think that's from Formation. And they asked Hillary Clinton again, to be more relatable. And here's what Hillary Clinton actually said when she was running for president.
What's something that you always carry with you?
hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Are you getting information right now? Hot sauce. Hot sauce in my bag, swag?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Now listen, I just want you to know, people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people again.
Okay. Is it working?
Yeah.
Respect. She's like, yeah, I'm pandering, but is it working? I actually kind of respect her for that. I kind of love Hillary for that moment. It was so real, but that's what that is giving. And like I said, there is no brand clarity. It's like she's so lost. It's like 2 weeks ago, Meghan Markle is selling $3 million jars of jam as she pulls fresh honey from the backyard to, happy music and dropping little heart sprinkles on baking, saying that she just loves to drop sprinkles everywhere, like in her cereal, wherever, in the most unrelatable opening for a cooking show, fully in hair and makeup, wearing all white with famous people as she walks through her garden outside, giving Martha Stewart. That's her, like, literally last month. She wants us to believe that that's genuinely who she is. She is Martha Stewart. She is Gwyneth Paltrow. And that's why it works for Gwyneth Paltrow, because that is who Gwyneth Paltrow is. She grew up unbelievably rich. She cannot relate to us. Gwyneth Paltrow cannot relate to us. And that's why people love her, because she keeps it 100, She's like, I drink broth in the morning. I had a pony when I was 1. I don't even know what it means not to have a chef and a housekeeper 24/7 a day. I can't relate to you little people. And I respect that. I like Gwyneth Paltrow for that. It's authentic. Meghan Markle is both Gwyneth Paltrow and telling you this is the taste of the other side when you go to your billionaire friends' mansions and you pull the honey from the back so that you have fresh honey to bake, to give to gifts to your friends, but also she twerks. I just need one or the other. I need you to twerk. I need Sexy Red. I need Cardi B, keeps it authentic, or I need you to be Gwyneth Paltrow. And then the last cringe thing that I saw that I really needed to get to was that she was still using her HRH title, like her Royal Highness title, when she gives personal gifts to her friends. That is the most pretentious thing that I have ever heard, especially for someone who claims she doesn't want to be a royal. Why are you signing off things to your friends? Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. If they're your friends, they should smack you in the face. Literally, I actually have a title, by the way. You guys may not know this. It's very fancy because my husband's entitled in the UK. So I'm technically, literally, the Honorable Candace Farmer. Please punch me in the face 22,000 times if I ever start selling products on CandaceOwens.com that says the Honorable Candace Farmer. I just want to relate to everybody in the podcast. So I'm sending you just a little gift with some sprinkles of the Honorable Candace, but just punch me straight in the face. I can't stand the inauthenticity. It has to stop. I tried with you, Meghan, really. You got to pick a lane. You got to stay in it, okay? That's all I'm saying. Okay, before I read some of your comments, talked about a lot of stuff today. I want to remind you about the wellness company, because you remember that viral video of RFK using methylene blue to stay focused, energized, and mentally resilient? Well, you can now experience those same benefits from Recharge from the wellness company, the doctor-formulated nutraceutical that delivers a never-seen-before combo of methylene blue, NAD, and PQQ, which creates a unique formula designed to optimize the mitochondrial function, improve your energy, and enhance your mental clarity. Methylene blue crosses the blood-brain barrier to enhance your focus and executive functioning by increasing your ATP production, which is the true fuel of our cells. It also works as a potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, helping protect against aging and cellular damage. So if you're looking for a real mental and physical edge, Recharge will deliver it. Head over to twc.health/Candace, and you could use code Candace, and you'll get 15% off plus free shipping. You will feel the difference of thinking clearer with Recharge. Again, visit twc.health/Candace and use promo code Candace at checkout. Also reminding you about Pure Talk, because I can tell you right now, you could cut your cell phone bill in half, and you could support a U.S. company that shares your values at the exact same time. Values like supporting our veterans and creating American jobs. And I could also tell you that you don't have to sacrifice coverage to do that, because it will be on America's most dependable 5G network. I'm talking about the only wireless company that the show endorses, which is Pure Talk, a wireless company that is veteran-led, and they invest in a U.S. customer service team so that you have the best support possible. If you're with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, join the hundreds of thousands who have successfully cut their cell phone bill straight in half. That's right, the average family saves over $1,000 a year when they make the switch. Pure Talk is mine and my family's cell phone company, and it can be yours too. You can switch in as little as 10 minutes by going to puretalk.com/Owens with plans that start at just $25 a month. There's no reason to wait. Go to puretalk.com/Owens and make the switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans. All right, you guys, let's get into your comments. What are you guys thinking today? What is on your mind? Okay, Sarah, regarding Sabrina Carpenter, writes, Sabrina Carpenter's aunt voiced Bart Simpson. She is an agent of the industry groomed for this. Yeah, if you guys are in my book club, because we're reading Hollywood Babylon, you get it. We get it. It's always been about sex, and we're going to get next week talking about the sex parties and rituals they had while they were making some films early on. It's crazy. You are correct. The industry has always been this way. Buckeye Bell writes, outside of Sabrina Carpenter's concerts, the morning after pills were passed out to everyone, even minors. My producer says, actually, that was Olivia Rodrigo, so a different artist. And yeah, this is sad that they are doing this, handing out morning after pills. And you can see that here on the article. Why? Why? Can their talent not carry them? Or do you recognize that there is very much an agenda? And I am telling you, there is a war on your fertility. And by the time most women wake up to it, it can be too late. Scott writes, Ted supports Israel because the Bible says he must. Then he says the Ayatollah is a religious zealot. He's a lunatic, but a particularly dangerous kind of lunatic because he's driven by religious fervor. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's what I mean. It's like, are you guys perceiving that it might be a little hypocritical to say they're dangerous, they're religious fanatics, and then at the same time saying, I must support Israel because my Bible doesn't command me to, because I think it commands me to, because of one of the most successful misinformation campaigns ever, which has impacted our country and has impacted our foreign policy and our politicians, which is the Schofield Bible. Marcy writes, so I guess the 90s babies must live through 2 Cold Wars and 1 World War then. Sucks to be us. Absolutely sucks to be us. Monica Munoz writes, hi, Candace, you're amazing and so inspirational, and I wanted to ask some advice on how I could level up my research game. I'm a victim of the failed public school system. You have to buy books. That is the only way to do it. They've even sanitized the web already, and so you knew this during COVID. You couldn't find any other opinion about COVID. The shot was amazing. It's so great. And I actually found that even when I was doing like the Shot in the Dark series on vaccines for children, I had to pay to access old medical studies. It was actually quite an expensive exercise, which is why I then created the Shot in the Dark series to be able to give that to parents, because they're protecting, what they're really doing is they want to wipe history so that we're kind of living in this ever present, like just exactly what 1984, the book by George Orwell, suggests. Like they want you in this ever present. There is no such thing as history, because once you learn history, it disrupts your ever present. What greater example of that, by the way, than the topic of Israel? I was living in an ever present and I actually knew nothing about the history. But yeah, that it really is, you have to go and you have to buy books, and you have to really research and connect to other people and be willing to have conversations with people that you would normally go, that idea sounds completely crazy. And usually it's coming from somewhere, and if they're wrong, you're going to discover that with your own research. And if they're right, you're going to be grateful that you allowed in an idea that may have seemed strange to you at first. EH writes, I was dumb enough to get the J&J COVID vax in 2021 for work, got pregnant about 6 months later, and was a non-viable pregnancy with trisomy 17. Doctor said it's a genetic anomaly. I'm too scared to try again. Don't be too scared to try again. Don't at all be too scared to try again. And, the COVID vaccine, without question, they, like I said, had to admit that it was impacting women's menstruation, and they never wanted to connect the dot that it could be impacting your fertility. Of course, if it's impacting your menstruation is the marker of your fertility. That is literally what it's all about. And they've removed us so much from our bodies. And yeah, it is good that we're able to have these open conversations, though, and people are learning about vaccines in a new way. I think COVID, everything that we lived through, was actually a net positive, because the stuff that I'm saying, like saying, oh, I have a whole series dedicated to teaching about vaccines, I could have never probably said without being caricatured as anti-vax and crazy 5 years ago. So yeah, the health conversation is getting better in America. Clement writes, it's really interesting how the very same Republican voters and politicians who criticized Sleepy Joe for funding Ukrainian war efforts are so pro-war against Iran. What is the difference? The difference is that Joe had an excuse because he had dementia. What's Trump's excuse? That's what I want to know. What's his excuse? I'm like, okay, well, Joe had dementia and somebody else was running the show. What is Trump's excuse? Why would somebody else be running the show? Why is Bibi Netanyahu running the show? He doesn't have an excuse. And that's why the base is upset. We have every right to be. Juniper Berry writes, I love you, sis, in Christ, wondering what and who convinced you to convert to Catholicism. The Schofield Bible was published in 1901. KJV was in 1611. The Catholic faith looks nothing like the original way of Christ's followers. Not being contentious, just curious. I just thought very interesting. It's like, who put together the Bible? And people are like, when people say the Catholic faith looks nothing like the original way of Christ's followers, I genuinely don't understand that comment. And I found that for me, and again, this could be a much larger episode, and it should be, but when I had my hangouts about the Catholic faith, because when me and my husband got married, I was Protestant, he was Catholic, I realized that I was just saying stuff. I didn't know why I said it. I didn't know who put that in my mind. And typically, if I'm saying stuff that I can't defend, and it's just like it's trigger friendly, like Catholics worship Mary. Where did I get that from? Who told me that? Why does every person who has an issue with the Catholic faith have a hang up and they say this is not true? Catholics don't worship Mary, but why did we all say that? Or I guess when I was a Protestant, why did we say that? I'm going, that's strange. And then I thought it was very strange that Christians in America seem to be, and I'll even say this about Christian influencers, they have more ill will towards Catholics than Jews and Israel. Like, that seems weird, right? Like, okay, we're both in the New Testament. Why? You have to realize you have to be conditioned that way. If your trigger is, I would rather defend the state of Israel and Bibi Netanyahu than to defend a Catholic, someone seeded you with those ideas. So it started with just challenging my own mind. And obviously my husband is the head of the household. And so it was these conversations were being had because we were having children. And I, no matter what, believed that my husband is the head of the household and therefore our children were going to be baptized Catholic. But I wanted to understand him. I wanted to understand why, with all of the bells and smells of the Catholic Church, why he was drawn towards it, especially because he was raised in the Anglican Church. He strong evangelical Christian, his family and his faith, and he decided to to convert to Catholicism when he was at Oxford University, when he was majoring in theology. And I think my husband is the most brilliant person I know. So I knew there was something that I was missing. Like, what moved him away? Somebody who has always had strong faith and always wanted to learn about theology, was always driven towards the topic of theology. What made him abandon evangelicalism and decide to convert to Catholicism, which was no small decision in the household that he grew up in? And all of that began me on my journey. And then, of course, like the weird media insistence that we had to worship Israel became a little uncomfortable for me. Anyways, you guys, wanted to let you know that one more person. Brittany Douglas writes, when it comes to debating, Candace is top tier. Candace and Jason, we'll get into that. I have to pull some clips of that for you guys next week. But Tucker is not far behind her. They leave people rethinking their lives. Tucker is fantastic. I'm just a student. I'm always learning. And I don't even consider myself to be a great debater. I think that if you tell the truth, you don't have to worry about a debate because it's just the truth. And that's all I have to say about that topic. I want to remind you guys that we have a new Shot in the Dark episode that's up on the website. This week, it is about chickenpox, and we'll get into the inserts on that. And us 90 kids already know that they're BSing about this vaccine because we all had the chickenpox and we all survived. We had chickenpox parties. We were doing the Meghan Markle twerk with all our siblings when we got chickenpox, and now they're telling kids they're going to die from it. It's the same thing for every vaccine. You don't remember it, the illness, and you have no memory of it, and you're terrified to ever get it because you assume everyone was dying. But let me tell you guys, nobody was dying from chickenpox. Nobody lost their lives to chickenpox. We were just having parties. It was itchy, though, and it was uncomfortable, I will say that. All right, you guys, tomorrow I will be dropping an episode with Russell Brand, so stay tuned for that. Other than that, we'll see you then.